I guess you will start. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Artur. Hello and welcome everyone to this Building Smart Room session, part of our Building Smart International Summit in Rome for 2023. So we're following up from this morning's session. We're moving now to a masterclass, bSDD Part 2, practical usage examples. And we have a number of speakers for you today. We've got Artur, Tomczak, Anouk van Otterlo, Arjan Toet, Mirbek, Bekboliev, Christoph, Eichler, Hansueli, Schmid, and Clive Jordan. Just to make you aware, Building Smart is committed to ensuring participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. And just to make you aware, we have online recordings that will be made available of this session. And for anyone online, please put all your comments in the chat, and we'll get to those when we have time for questions. Otherwise, we'll run through each presentation, and then we'll have questions at the end of them. But now I'll hand over straight to Artur.
Thank you very much, Ra. Welcome. I see some of you were at the previous session where we did the workshop with sticky notes. If you haven't, then here you can see, unfortunately, online audience cannot. This is a result of one of the group's work. So this is a data dictionary that they prepared during 40 minutes. And then we digitized it and showed it how you can use it from our database in your authoring software. And then we had a session full of questions. So we covered a lot of the aspects, but I guess some questions will repeat. That's fine. But the focus for this session is on practical usage examples. So we have invited many guests that will say how they already use bSDD or what they want to use bSDD for. And I don't want to take too much of the time because, they will they will show practical examples of bSDD. But I will just say hello. I'm Artur Tomczak. I'm the new product manager of bSDD. So if you're interested, come and say hi at the corridor if you haven't already. And for those that don't know, bSDD is a service provided from buildingSMART to facilitate distribution of standards, classifications, data templates, property sets, material libraries, and it's free to publish and access the content. And if we have time at the end, we can talk more about what bSDD actually is. But right now, I would like to hand the microphone to Anouk and Arjan from WaterNet to show us how they use bSDD for asset management in WaterNet.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our presentation in such big numbers. Arjan and me are going to tell you about our proof of concept which we made with bSDD and the WaterNet ontology. So my name is Anouk, and next to me is Arjan, and we are both working as external consultants for the company WaterNet, which is a water company for Amsterdam and their surroundings. First, I will briefly tell you something about the vision of WaterNet, what we are working on, and why we can use the bSDD and why it matches with our vision. So I'm part of the asset information management team, where we are working on controlling and establishing the data requirements and data for asset information management for the whole company. We set up a new vision and strategy for a data strategy to which is connected to the whole goals of the whole asset management department. So in the end, we want to know all assets, of course, which assets do we have and are in scope. We want to have the new information about these assets up to date. We want to have all our existing data from our assets known and in our systems. And we want to digitally validate all this asset information. And now we are doing a proof of concept of the bSDD, especially for getting the new information about the new assets which are delivered in projects correctly according to our information needs. So this is our vision, what we're working on, so the goal we are working towards. In the middle, you see that we want to go to a common data environment, where we have an ontology which describes all the information, all our assets and all the information we want about these assets. So it describes the entities, the attributes, and how they are relating to the systems and which information should be in what system. Well, we get input from different standards and classifications from the Netherlands. That's our input for ontology. And in the end, we want to, of course, get access to the data and deliver them to other parties and use them in projects. We're not here yet, so we're working towards this nice picture. And we're doing this in 4 steps. So to gradually move there, we first are looking at the different IT structures and applications that are already existing at Waternet. We try to combine the knowledge which is already in these applications in one central data structure, the Waternet ontology, or in Dutch, the OTL, the object type library. When we are getting a better ontology, we want to connect this to all the different systems and use this as a central data structure for these systems, which will make it easier to go later to one central database where all the different applications are connected to. The bSDD will help us to deliver the ontology to the different parties, and that we can use the data structure which we need.
Yes, and this is the proof of concept we're talking about. And in the Dutch, we call it a node gearing. Now we call it an emergency barrier. What is this? It's one of the 1,000 assets Waternet has. You see here the main water, subwater, and our capabilities that drop down the wall, and the water on the other side is safe. So this is the asset what we're talking about. The current situation. Now, Anouk told us we had an ontology, and in this ontology they're getting all our information requirements. And now the pointer party, how can use the pointer party our information request? How can they use it? They can go to URI to otl.waternet.nl and looking for a bridge and some properties to look what properties they have to deliver for a bridge. This is not a workable way. Sometimes we give them an Excel. That's also not a workable thing. Or you can get a turtle file, but it's not what we preferred. So we're looking for a solution. How can read the information requirements better to our client, to the pointer parties? This is the goal, the whole situation. You see the Waternet OTL for this. There's two situations. We have we want to connect the OTL to the bSDD and editing, exchange IFC in tools from Autodesk. That is our architecture choice. Another situation is how can we make an IDS from our OTL, maybe with the ILS converter or other tools, or do it directly and validate it with tools. But for this current POC, we use our OTL, we use the platform, the bSDD, and with the AKA software, we check if now we extend our IFC and make a new export. And how we do that?
This is a bit a technical part. So we have our Waternet ontology, which is published in this tool called Laces, which we are using. And then we, of course, took the IFC ontology to map the entities we have in our ontology to the IFC entities. So we did this in Laces. And then, of course, we want to have this information in the bSDD. And to get there, we made a Sparkle query to get the right results from the ontology, because there was more information in the ontology than we could put in the bSDD at the moment. And make it ready for the bSDD, so get the right information out of there and transform it to JSON to put it in the bSDD platform, and we managed to do that. Yeah, it actually went very quickly and well. So I would also like to see if we can maybe publish this little script we made and the query for other people who have an ontology to use that to put their information into the bSDD. So it would be interesting to see if that also can work for other ontologies. You will probably have to adjust the query a little bit because every ontology is a little bit different. You can make choices about how you want to structure your data. So that's why it's not possible to directly put linked data in the bSDD platform. So I think this is an easy way to get there. So here you can see this in the latest tool, the mapping we made to IFC. So we would click on every object and make a relation. We saw that there are not so many entities we can use at the moment. So we tried to map some things, but there was not so much available about water assets. We did our best. This is the query with the results below to get the input ready for the bSDD. And then we use the script to generate a JSON file. I think you are having a little movie now about how we used it.
Yeah, sure, movie. I think you have to click. Yeah, this is how we prove it with the AK software. We have an account. Go to the right folder. I upload 2 files: a Revit file and an IFC file. The Revit file you can't edit in this mode, but the IFC you can. So this is already shown before, but now for this POC, it's getting about how we use the OTL with the bSDD. Now you see the emergency barrier with a lot of objects, and all the objects, have some properties, but not the right properties we need. So we edit it. Now here we scroll down all the properties. Come on, make a connection to the bSDD. See here, we go to the bSDD, choose the right domain. We do it in the test environment, and we scroll down. Waternet, double G, downstairs. We're looking for the right, classification. And so many, yeah. Okay. And now we go to the object. In this case, is a slide wheel, or I don't know the English word. We search them in the bSDD. We see also a sliding wheel, and we say add to this object, and we get a list of all the properties we need from the OTL. And we give them some values because only the properties with the values go over. He added to the IFC. The last one, and now you see added 3 properties. And when we go back to the properties, you see we have added the extra properties what we need. Now for now we have to map also the IFC. We now also mapping the IFC objects, but not all the properties. But this is the next step. But for this case, we show that we can use the OTL and exchange the IFC with the bSDD. And what use case can we solve with this? Is this my slide? Oh yeah, this is. You see here the process of Otternet, 3 main processes: planning a program, design and construct, and operate and maintain. For this POC, we're looking at the design and construction phase, and we are looking for in what phase we can use this tool. And we have the bSDD platform, and I think we can now in the design phase give all our properties. And there are also product data, just like ATIM. You told maybe we can edit it in the construction phase. Is this?
So this is what we are researching now. So like in what phases can we use the bSDD? And we see many different potentials for this, because there are also other domains in the bSDD, such as ATIM, for example. And we can also maybe use their objects to also enrich our IFC models. So in this slide, we can see that we can use our ontology to give the right information to the objects. I already mentioned that IFC is not so extensive at the moment for water objects, but if we are putting the right object names from our OTL in the bSDD, we can indicate which objects we mean in the models, and it will help us to improve the data quality of the models and also easily hand over at the end the right information to the right places in our systems. Yeah, Arjan already mentioned it a little bit, but we just put all the properties which were in the ontology in a user-defined property set called Waternet property set or something. But if we want to go more further with this, we also want to look into the IFC properties and which ones can we reuse, because it will probably help make it more easy to model the IFC. In the end, if we are using this tool, this means that we always get like the same sort of IFC structure, because we already indicate in which property set and which property we want to fill in. So it will be easier for us to get the same kind of IFCs delivered, and we can more automatically get the information. And as I mentioned, it's nice to use other domains in the bSDD, such as ATIM or maybe the NLSFP, the Dutch classification codes, to enrich your models and use more standards to better improve the data quality. So what are our next steps and improvements? So we already mentioned like the IFC attributes. We can also look at the IFC attributes which are already there and reuse them. But what we also want to add in our ontology, but maybe also in the bSDD, is a little bit of extra information about when do you need a certain property or attribute, when should it be delivered, in what data drop according to the ISO 19650. And it would be helpful for people who need to deliver a model at a certain time to know which properties are relevant for that data drop. But maybe we can also group properties according to a specific use case. So maybe you want to have information about a material passport. You can know which properties are needed for what, and it will be more relevant to improve the quality of your model. And we also discussed already with Jeroen from ATIM, how can we test the combination of our domains. So if they are also mapping to IFC entities, can we automatically already get like, if we have a pump and we map it to an IFC pump, and if ATIM also maps their pumps to an IFC pump, is it easier for us to see which ATIM classification codes we can use? So that's something we really like to research. At the end, we want to say thanks to Alex, of course, who helped us setting up the proof of concepts, and our colleague from Waternet, Sander, who helped especially helped us with the technical part of it and making the little scripts we used. So thank you for your attention. And does anybody has any more questions?
Thank you so much. Do we have any online questions? Okay. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I also have a question at the end, but let's see if anybody from the audience. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Very interesting and very good way of proceeding. I was just wondering if you need to update your 3D model, then you export it in IFC, you bring it back in SBIM. Do you keep all the information that you put on the top of the previous IFC at the right place, depending on the grid?
So of course, depends a little bit on when you are adding the information with the bSDD. So you can have multiple situations, I think. So maybe you can edit when you're making the model already. So like during designing, you can use these requirements. Or maybe we can also make a little bit of an extension in more like a viewer adding kind of tool, which we can, ourselves or someone at our company add the right information to it, which we need for operations and maintenance. And then it depends how you will save it. Do you want to put it in the IFC or maybe have it more in a separate file next to it?
I don't know. Maybe my question was not very clear. You have the model in IFC. You put the property, then you fill in the property, you use it, and later maybe you need to update the 3D model, and then you re-export an IFC. And when you bring back this IFC, all the properties that you put on the previous one, do you keep all this information already on top of the new IFC? No, you lose everything.
Yeah, now you lose it. No, you have to reuse the IFC. What you use, you make an export, and that IFC you have to reuse it. Yeah.
As you are more focused on the asset management, it's not a big deal. But for people who are working and during the design phase, that's
the design phase. But you could also there are also add-ins to the bSDD with the Revit software or other modeling software, and then you use it in maybe in the design process. That kind of software.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we also had this question on the previous session. So yeah, you could integrate it with the authoring software in native formats, not only the end result IFC, if you are not working with IFC as a native format. Another question? Okay. Do we have any online question? No? So I have one, because... Okay.
If it hasn't already been addressed. No. How many of your properties can be mapped to an IFC equivalent?
How many?
How many of your properties can be mapped to an IFC equivalent?
We don't have mapped the properties, only the objects. So a bridge to an IFC bridge and not the properties from them, what we need. But this is next step.
Okay, thank you. And my question is, because this is for your WaterNet example, how useful it is to other organizations that have similar use case, for example, from France, Germany, US?
I think it can also be very useful for other companies or countries. I think I already saw similar approaches or researchers from the airport, who are also the airport room was also looking into the bSDD. The municipality of Amsterdam also has a domain. So I think this can be used for many more other companies.
But I think the way how we do that is what the way how we do that is what we show is useful. And when you have your own information requirements in an OTL, you can use it. You can use your own ontology for that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm asking because in the circularity field, we often hear about distributional injustice, so that some countries, they don't have money to invest in, for example, developing ontologies, but they could benefit from really nice classification, because probably they also divide elements into similar concepts. But thank you very much. And one more. Yeah, we have time for one more question.
Thank you. I'm Tiina Perttula from Finland and also the chair of the infra room. And actually, when we are looking for good examples, we have done exactly the same in Finland to Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency. So we tested the bSDD with the information they have in their asset management register for roads and rails. And use exactly the same methodology that you showed. Just collect the information, then use JSON file and the Akka software to put the content to the bSDD. So I guess that there is a many other kind of organization and many different type of domains that could definitely benefit from using bSDD.
Thank you. And I guess now we have to move to our next guest. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
And the next guest will be Mirbek. Mirbek, I guess you will introduce, but I will just make a brief one. It's already on. Okay. So Mirbek will show another use case for bSDD from a perspective of not asset management, but from a perspective of an expert in terms of airtightness of a building, right?
Yeah.
So please, yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I will introduce myself very shortly. I wrote 3 things, and I'm a building room steering committee member. And my free time, I also saves the lives, let's say, as a firefighter, and of course, actively involved with my domain expertise in sustainability. Coming from buildingSMART Germany as technical project manager, helping our diverse working groups bring use cases, bring properties into bSDD as well. So that's now experiencing what we have and what we see daily life. I made my homework. Artur asked us how we understand bSDD. But before bSDD, you need to have use cases, right? You have to know all these abbreviations. And it's really difficult for everyone. We are in Italy. Italians love cooking. So this is an example that I thought, like, okay, well, let's bring another example. Each use case, as you can see, as a recipe. You know recipe, it really perfectly fits with IDM as well, because you need to exactly know how you bake your cake. Otherwise, it will end up with something else. So you need to know your exchange requirements. You need to know your processes, how and which degree temperature you have to cook it. So that's all, and how long. That's important. So this is same thing in the construction industry. You need to know, especially for semantics, right? Machine should know all your contents. So that's a thing. And that will fit with bSDD. bSDD is a fridge because it contains all different types of products, right? And you have your areas like domains. You have milk products, you have dairy, you have your fruits, you have vegetables, and so on. You have all that stuff, and you have to classify. They have properties. One of the properties is like expiring date, right? You all have to stick with that, otherwise you will have a stomach poisoning or something else. So this is an example. And this is well-known video. I hope you all seen that one. And this is our inspiration. What OpenBin does for you, and why I bring it here. This is the context now. As you can see, we have a building, which is IFC model here. We have a housekeeper who uses BCF to communicate the stuff, like school children, maybe the broke window, the door window. So you have to know them, your manufacturer, their requirements, specs. So you have to repair the door or you change it. So then bSDD will play a major role here because you have your requirements, you brought your PDTs, and so that they will be able to map them. That's all. Now I'll bring them together. We had a chance to present our use case with Gianluca, with Jeffrey at the last summit in Montreal. This is a use case, that's why I made a screenshot. If you want to scan it, it's open, it's in a use case management and available for everyone. There, we put some requirements, and those requirements we tried to bring through IFC, and then later on with BCF, communicate, issue management, and so on. Add the retrofit case. We have existing building, and that is important. An existing building always have some properties, so you have to communicate somehow. Now I will go to the next step. You have, I guess, chance. Existing buildings, they're really important. They have 80% of entire built stock. So we need to renovate them when we need to improve them. And as soon as you have this, 40% of efficiency goes to energy. Now I say, why energy efficiency and why airtightness? Today I brought this airtightness as a use case. If you deal with passive house buildings, as you can see, 5 pillars, 5 main requirements, and one of them is airtightness. Even in some other countries, it's mandatory to do a blower door test to make a requirement of airtightness, not only in Germany or other countries. if you, even for a green building certification like LEED, you can see energy and atmosphere, there is a specific credit for that for building airtightness. Why we need building airtightness? Because without that, in some cases, you will end up with this kind of issues, I would say, like damages, mold, thermal bridging. Of course, it's also additional structural damage as a result. That's most important. So we did that, all the stuff in the use case, and this is a typical requirements for what we need to bring there. And the requirements you map later on with bSDD. We did it. Actually, we did it as a task because still it's now there is no yet linking with the bSDD and UCM, but there's a wish and there's I guess there are plans. I heard that Thomas gladly they're pushing it forward so the bSDD will be brought together and then linked together. Sorry. And that's what I extract from that use case. You can see I need my parameter for infiltration because airtightness relates to infiltration. I have a window there, additional parameters for maybe for IFC site. Before I do my blow-out test, before my measurements, I need to have my PSAT site weather. I need to know weather conditions. I need to know address at all where I have to do this simulations measurements. And related to building, we brought everything what we currently have. And this is exactly, as you can see, related ones. Yet, there is a very vital one that you need to know your quantities of base quantities. Yeah, sure. Because the air volume that you need to bring into the building or suck out, so it's a tool like a negative pressure, positive pressure. You need additional use case, additional properties. And as you can see, there is a property that might be really related to other building components, landed in different domain and different, let's say, and different PSAT. So you can see PSAT dumper history is now you have a leakage, but it's in different area. You'll not be able to use it for your window. So that's exactly the case when you bring your stuff and we check what we have in bSDD, what is related. Maybe in the IFC not, but in like Anouk already mentioned, they have also different domains, different available for that part. And of course, I checked that we have also from related organizations, they publish something. And of course, we wish something. So now, we have an example building is existing, really common also, I guess, in a worldwide construction for other 4 months, sitting in one container building. It's honestly speaking, it's almost problems on the construction side. You have it's leaky, it's cold, and so you have some amendments in the building unless if you're not owning it, so it will be difficult later on to track. So I choose one example building that we did in real. We measured the airtightness. We made some improvements. And you can see some, of course, we have a IFC23 model for that. On site, when we met, we have seen this scenario when you have an opening in the wall or like a panel and the opening for AC unit that was not properly sealed. Later on, you have no reason for bringing all this conditioned air into a building that will be directly lost through these openings. Of course, you have other damages that you can simply see that you have problems in the building. So windows, openings, junctions. And then if you have imagined the big building, how you communicate that? You communicate. We proposed that last time, and this is you performed some improvements. It's really difficult to track in this case, but in this case, you have really no chance to do that. That's why we propose to use a BCF and issue manager, because you can directly point into the location. You have a chance to put that screenshot or like the result, even certificate, even link for a specific object, specific location on the story. You can directly track later on. And you have, of course, as a result, you have a chance to track the issue. And here, this is just a screenshot. You can show that video. It's available on the use case. We'll not repeat it again. Like I said, you can bring all other information through bitsaf as well, not on just analysis for daylight or thermal bridging analysis as well. This is a workflow. Sorry for the quality. I will just explain. We brought the domain, let's say as a test, let's say there's a building air tightness with 2 parameters, like we need if there is a leakage problems in the building envelope or not. So that's on the use case. And this is a domain. And as you can see, there was other classifications I already mentioned. We matched them as well. And as you can see, we have some related IFC entities, like where you can have these entities with like potential issues, because it's mainly focusing on building envelope. So the rest is not interested for us, because air tightness should be within the envelope. Example of only one use case. As you can see, we have a load values true or false. That's all. I just am interested. Of course, we will extend it and we'll make it proper way with values where maybe allocation types as well leakages. Not only leakages, it can be, of course, further, let's say, problems like mold. It's really a dangerous thing. And now we'll show you an example of directly in through bSDD API into SketchUp. Just why SketchUp? Because small companies, small, let's say, contractors, and of course the sustainable consultants, they are not using a big like others advanced tools. They are not using. They are using different kind of combinations tools. Of course, SketchUp is really widespread. It's used by many architects as well, for landscape architects, and so it's a great tool. I liked it as well. That's why I choose this one. It's not an advertisement, but it's currently available. A part of Aka software, I guess, currently available bSDD API. Of course, we have some other ones. As you can see, we have a building air tightness. This is a domain there. We have our property that one want to enter. Now I will switch quickly to the model. I prepared that. I simply just skip some part. We don't have so much time to import, export, and try. I did some modeling. I imported this IFC, and part we have now just an opening, because we need to do this opening and we have to map it. And the mapping, I'll just show that we have, of course, we have a chance to directly find the right domain, and we filter a domain. We can directly map that with air tightness. As you can see, we have a building air tightness here. We have some limitations. Now I'll tell you limitations. That was exactly your task to tell what we have currently, what are the challenges, and the bigger challenge. When you map some in bSDD, if you made relations, there would be many related entities. But you can only map one of them. So there is, of course, maybe implementation issues, or let's say some changes should be done towards implementation. If it's a related type, if you have your window map, then you have to choose here window, not the entire stuff. If I would put, of course, now currently I'll be mapping some other stuff. Is it a building envelope issue? Of course, this is not exactly. I made some updates. Should be here Boolean. I simply choose 1, 2 things, like if air tightness issue problem. So I simply write here a mold. Not a big deal, but it's not actually a mold. There is a hole there, opening for AC unit. So we can, of course, do this things and map them and together, so that after the mapping, we'll end up with other things. So I can simply choose, like Anouk already mentioned, you can map different domains. You can directly use existing IFC schema if you're not sure which entity to use, which property set to use. So they can simply map, apply, selection, and it will be mapped directly, as you can see. So now I will go through this mappings, and we have a bitsaf, right? I mentioned, you remember. I did some work, like let's say homework. As you can see, we have a BCF. Like I mapped on the window, we have opening, we have different other issues. And this BCF we can communicate through with our clients. Client got the BCF. You can open BCF in your free viewer, doesn't matter, because the client will not have a chance to buy a license because I'm paying for my building, or let's say just for some service. I don't need to, I have no knowledge even for modeling. I'm a banker. So how I supposed to work with that? And I bring that, I show them that I did my work. I sealed my opening, as you can see like that. I sent the picture, I sent through bSDD, through BCF. But at the same time, before I did it, I mapped up through bSDD with some additional properties. Of course, that's tricky. There should be some additional improvements, but it works. And it's really nice to have that. I have, how many time now? What, sorry? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, I'll go back. Now you ask us to bring your challenges. Yeah, we do have some challenges. It's, you know, if you're using IFC doc tool, there is a lot of structure. You can see everything. I like it because still, it's good to see how the thing brought together. There, you definitely see types as a different, like you have a predefined types. You can see classes in the structured way. Here, you can see as you can see, if I put infiltration, I find classification properties and domain, but I cannot see the property sets. So this should go, maybe there will be a chance to put the addition to show the property sets in a different way to directly filter them. So maybe that was saying this challenge I already mentioned that it should be somehow discussed. Second, many vendors, so it's really good to have some, and we need the commitment from more software vendors. Then I think I'm at the end now. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mirbek, for this presentation. Okay, no online questions so far. Yeah, you asked some questions, so I will allow myself to answer. So yeah, some of the limitations are on the implementation side, and you said lack of bSDD implementations. Definitely there is not enough. There are many, as we will see in a moment, one of them. But yeah, about the search page, there are a lot of things we want to improve. We have a really long list, and we are open to get your feedback, what you would like to see there. And we will, of course, considering our limited capacity, resources, we'll try to improve it. But thank you so much for also mentioning the pains and gains of this use case. Any other question from the audience, please? No questions. Okay, good. Then I have a question, difficult one. Okay. Because air tightness is not only about the how much air can flow through the material, but also about the leakages, which you often don't model, like cracks, small holes. Yeah, that was a big one, but usually you don't model the things that don't exist, such as the cracks. How do you solve this?
So this with a property. That's how you can do that. And but you need to pick the location or object. Mm-hmm. If it's a junction between, let's say, two panels, and there is always a gasket in between, or this covering. So you pick the covering as a simple location, because at the end, the expert, like air tightness expert, they will have to find that place. And with BCF, you communicate later on. You find, and there is directly property that maybe a gasket issues. So it's simply a normal property. Of course, in the property set, you can create a property set like building issues related to air tightness or from other stuff. And as a type, you can put types like mold, like you said, it's simply air leakage, water, rust. As in steel parts can be also rusty, right? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. It's as a result of air leakage. So if there's a humidity there, it can not only rust, it can be stains and some other things. So you can type, you can bring that with types under the property.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks again, Mirbek. And now I would like to welcome Clive. Yeah. Thank you. To show us how bSDD can support writing requirements on projects. So how can you use the content from bSDD, to write requirements? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Up until now, we've had a lot of challenges managing data, and this sort of solves a lot of those challenges for our users. Previously, they managed their own standards, or we help them manage their standards inside of Planoly. But connecting directly into the bSDD is a godsend to help them optimize that workflow and to put it in the right hands. So rather than it being on our hands or our users' hands, it becomes access through API, which is what everything should be today. So I'm going to talk about a practical use case where we've implemented bSDD, IDS, and also the verification steps for models going through that workflow. Okay. It's working. Okay, great. So inside of your project settings, you can choose whether you want properties from IFC 4.3 or whether you want your classification here from Uniclass. And that's what will be running through your project inside of, okay, great. So you've seen this one run a few times. Adding a row inside of the scope and searching literally by typing the first three letters and bringing up the classification here, we're picking a retaining wall and it completing the code, being able to obviously add the entity. And then if we hit next. So one part of it is adding the classification and the other part is adding properties. So here inside of that retaining wall, start typing material, not having it in the project library, but also it being available inside of the bSDD tab. Click it, it adds it as a requirement and a milestone for that use case, for that purpose. The simplicity of having that connection into the API so that users don't have to guess or have to go and grab something from a previous project. It's directly accessing the standard that is managed by the standards team, which is the right way to do it. And then once you've got a property that's come from the library, we can then start adding rules that if it has to be a certain date or a certain value or a larger than or between certain numbers, and then this would be part of the verification rule that goes out with the IDS export, I think comes up next. So now we have a one click to create, but you can create a filter on it. That filter might be, I want just the export for the structural team's work, or just this milestone or this stage or this data drop, or however you're defining it. And that creates us the IDS export that can be obviously used in how many applications now? Is it 150? Yeah. So lots of applications you can use that in. But this is the potential. Everyone talks about machine readable. Yeah, the IDS is actually, it's getting us there. It's actually something that can be shared and start to be, we can export from Planoly and somebody in Celebri can import it and start checking if that's part of their workflow. If you've already done that before and you have a scope of work that you've defined, and you can import that. Here we're showing a responsibility matrix for your whole set of requirements, and then mechanical systems required for 3D coordination, a set of properties may be required at that point in time. That is now a package of work that you can reuse on project after project. And then if we wanted to, we could export that as an IDS as well, or package it off. And if you're using Planoly and you're using the verification module, then it would be integrated to be able to check that. So the properties that we grabbed, the classification that we grabbed, the properties that we grabbed from bSDD are shown inside of a requirement. The model is then linked in, whether it's coming from, this one's from Autodesk Construction Cloud, or whether it's just dropped in. It automatically links up and verifies whether the properties not just are there and match to the bSDD, but they also are checking the values. Do they meet those requirements, yes or no? Color coding the model, making it really visual and easy to understand. Thank you for bearing with me on the, the challenges.
Thank you so much. And is there any? Yeah, there is a question. So give me a second. In the meantime, if you have any question and you are online, please type it in the chat and we will read it.
Hello, just a simple question. What kind of information do you fetch from the bSDD? Is it just the property name or any other kind of additional metadata attributes?
So anything that is in the domain, we have access to. It depends on the domain. It depends on what you're acquiring, but we're pulling everything that's there already. Is there a specific domain or a specific property or something you're looking for?
No. My question was more, if you fetch one property, do you just fetch the property name or other attributes related to that specific property? So maybe you have from a domain, you have the property name. Do you just fetch the description or also the short text, long text,
and
value, everything?
Right, the name, the description, the URI, potentially.
Okay.
It's not part of it at the moment, but that's a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's worth mentioning that Plannerly implemented this recently, like this month, and it's still work in progress. But
so if anybody wants to use it, go in there, use the free product. Tell us what's wrong. That's what we live and grow by. So.
But I'm really impressed in how quick you did it, and also that I think just fetching the name, description, and you from the bSDD, it's already solving a lot of problems that we face in the industry. Additional attributes, as you said, like possible values, units, description, so that user get more than they would normally have from shared properties or property sets. It's added value, but let's go there step by step. Thank you very much. Is there any online question? No. Any other? You can do it.
We already discussed before. You have seen that it was ideas creator, and I think you also plan to implement ideas importer, right? So like IFC models, there are always BIM authoring tools that export, and then you have viewers, checkers that can read them. So this is exactly the same thing, right? So are you planning to do that?
Yes.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. And you asked me a question, how many tools already implemented IDS? And I said 1,000 because I don't really know. And I don't know because there are many that took open source libraries like IFC OpenShell, XBeam, and they are just testing, building prototypes. So there are many applications that I don't know about. But thank you so much. And another example for today will be from Christoph and Hansueli. That will be close to my heart because it's about sustainability, which is also part of my research. And we'll hear more from them. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm here together with Christoph, and we will show you the use of the bSDD on the example of environmental impact of buildings, not only the operation of buildings, but also the materials which are in a building. So we have, I sum up what I showed this morning only to introduce you the topic. We have these basic requirements on building, and environmental impact is going to be more and more important for government, but also for private project owners. And the question is how we gonna calculate that. So until today, imagine those 3 bottles here are the life cycle stages. We have production, use stage, and disposal. So until today, we optimized only the use stage. Our buildings are super efficient. Before, the bottle was like that, and that's the reason why we retrofit existing building. We try to reduce this impact. But now we have the situation that the impact is as such so small that also production and disposal getting important in optimizing the whole life cycle impact. The problem is a bit when I want to measure the impact of production and disposal. I need EPDs, environmental product declarations, and they look like that, and they really look like that. They're not in a file or database, they're really PDFs. Or so imagine every one of you is a construction product, and I want now to sum up 10 different impact indicators. I go from table to table and ask you how much impact has your product. And then I want to change a product and have to change it again. So that maybe shows you the importance to digitize this process. And we from the product room, we tried now to, we did it actually, we transformed the life cycle stages and the impact indicators into the bSDD. Here we had a very comfortable situation. Everything is already described in ISO standards and European standards. We just had to transform this in a machine-readable format. So we have these 3 bottles here, or 3.5, and then we have these life cycle phases with modules. So that's in bSDD. The other things are the impact indicators. You always talk about CO2, but that's not the only environmental impact. Many, many more than we see here. So this gives us a matrix where we can then show what I showed you here, this environmental impact, or EPDs, environmental product declaration. So you have then many numbers for each product in a building, and that's actually nice to process in a BIM model. And that's now what we have in the bSDD. So it's a bit a black box. We have all the information there, but until you find it and you know how things work together, we have to visualize that in a overview sheet maybe. And the goal is that we have a template for EPD. So each one of you will have a template. You can transfer the information from your declaration into a database where when I, as a planner, can just pick up your information, switch information, then manufacturer fills in the template and he gets a data sheet, a digital data sheet. We don't work only with products, we have also components, so things which are assembled of different materials like windows or walls. So that's the easier way to handle information based on aggregated components. And there are also ways then to sum up your materials for your component. This could then be represented in a database like that, where you have all these numbers. You could transfer it into an IFC file. And you can then start to optimize buildings in early planning stages where you still can make important choices. That will be then the way from the information to the planning. So that was my short part. Now I hand over to Christoph. He will show you more about how it's used in the planning.
Yes, and we make a surprisingly change because I start with something completely different. Maybe some of you joined the airport room session in the morning, and there was also bSDD regarded. And at the end of my presentation, everything fits together. So no worries. Airport room, this is the steering committee. So I have very powerful people around me in the airport room steering committee. And we worked very intensive on a project called Entity Project. This was leaded by Ariska and by Maya, sitting there on the window. The purpose of this business case was to create an extension, or we are not allowed to call it extension anymore, an amend of IFC for airport-related entities or airport-related declarations. At the beginning, we use only IFC4 as something like the core data structure. At the end, we switched to IFC 4.3 because it delivers as much better or much precise declarations we could use for our purpose. Those things at the end will be transmitted directly into the bSDD because that's the basic thing where we want to distribute all of these amends. But actually there is a project, this is running up of the end of August with surveys to evaluate all the declarations. So we finished with our declarations already. Actually, we start surveys over the whole world with all the experts for airports and from the aviation industry to make sure that all the declarations we developed are really usable and really fitting to international standards. So this is some kind of new procedure. And all of these things are actually based on, or the whole strategy here is completely based on bSDD. Why is this important? Because in the next step, I want to explain you much more in detail how this works actually, how we work with our tools and how we want to distribute the whole setup to bSDD and how this was already done as a first prototype. Why we're also using bSDD, not only to distribute our declarations, also because we want to classify all of our declarations with the international aviation standards from the industry. In international aviation industry declarations are the most important part. Otherwise, airports can't work together over the whole world. And thanks to that things that it works, you are all here arrived in Rome. Otherwise, it's not possible. Some arrived by train, but I heard it was very painful and a long drive. What did we at the beginning? We consolidate our declarations. So this picture we also showed in the morning explained that we all know we have conveyor belts in our airports. Otherwise, nobody gets his baggage back. So there must be something like that, but we call it in a different way all around. There are small differences, maybe bigger differences, how we call it. But the most important thing is we need to identify there's a need for a declaration for that. And we call it like, no, not mine, like that. So this was the first procedure. Make sure we all identify the declaration need we had and make sure that we really understand the same thing about it. So we use pictures for that at the end to make sure that we really understand this is the thing we all understand and we call it like this. By the way, this is exactly what we do with the service by now again. We send out a picture and ask, do you understand that we call this thing package surveying element or something like this? Are you agree with that? And so on and so on. So we make sure that everyone understands the same contexts or everyone has the same context to the declaration we spread out. At the beginning, we work with a tool called Airtable to consolidate everything. But in the next step, we control the IFC mapping from our declarations to IFC4 and IFC4.3. I already mentioned IFC4 declarations were not that powerful because a lot of things actually are not declared there. So we use proxies all the time. So I jump here very fast through. So we have our core data structure, the things we identify as a data structure need. We also upload here again the pictures that we have the visual context also here. We already implement here a prototype implementation how to use the data structure inside Archicad, inside Revit, because this is the most, and usually this is the most spread or the most used application in our scenery, on our use cases. And we add here the IFC4.3 mapping and the IFC4 mapping for that. Maybe people who have good eyes could see IFC4 is usually building element proxy, and here in IFC4.3 we have much more different declarations because we identify the conveyor segment and all these things we could use already. What we can do here is in the next step, directly from the tool we use here, it's called BIMQ. We could deliver the data, the BIM applications to create models to deliver this. In the past, we used for that only specific configuration files. In future, I will now I spoiler my presentation, but in future we want to use IDS for that because actually it's quite a mess to configure all the different BIM applications and the different releases of BIM applications with the specific configuration files to deliver them accordingly. For that reason, IDS is the better answer for that in future. This is only an example. We can hand over these declarations directly in a BIM application. In this case here, this is Archicad. We can use this declaration to declare objects. So this is a conveyor belt. This is a light mask, for example. This is a marking from an apron marking or something like this. So this was only a test to make sure that the declarations we hand over in the BIM application and the configuration files work completely fine and we can produce correct IFC files. Inside checking tools, there's already an API-based connection to the declaration of BIMQ to make sure that we can test that everything here fits to our declarations. This is actually running also on an API connection, but this could also connect it via bSDD or directly with an IDS file in future. And now the most important thing, we had a first prototype, how to deliver our stuff to the bSDD. This was done by Maya, and she used for that purpose, she used a JSON file at the beginning, done with the API. There's an explanation on GitHub how to work with that. If there's a detailed question, I have no clue. You have to ask Maya. But the point is, we had last year, we had a so-called after summit. As I thought I stole the idea from you, Alex. We did it in Vienna instead of Amsterdam. And we invited also Leon, and we discussed how to use IDS, how to use bSDD, and so on. And in that meeting, there was also the developer from BIMQ, and he already listened very carefully, and we got an IDS implementation and a bSDD connection. And the IDS implementation is very helpful because in future, we can transport our data structure directly via IDS export inside BIM applications, but also to the bSDD. So it's a very, very clean procedure. And we can also deliver checking rules with this declaration. And we have a bSDD connection for the classification. So we can use, and this is now the connection to the topic with the EPDs, we can use already existing declarations from bSDD in our data structure, because this was another really important discussion in the after summit, how to connect different dictionaries together, how to make interacting dictionaries, how to deal with that. Actually, everyone produces his own declaration, but not so much people listen about other dictionaries and content all around there. So for that reason, I hand over to people want me to do this, but I make a live check inside our BIMQ setup from the airport room to show how to combine the EPT setup directly with our setup from the airport room. So I only need to log in. Maybe you can give me. I don't save my password on the computer. So,
could you just use the microphone for the online audience? Yeah.
Okay. So we have here the data structure setup. So there are several domains here. I prepared a little bit a domain, a little bit something here in our terminal declaration. What we can see here are these are the actually declarations. There's our IFC 4.3 mapping. There are the declarations. We actually don't have so much properties here. This is the next step. What I'm doing now is I'm combining here the EPT indicators dictionary from bSDD directly. There's only one addition, so no so hard choice. So now we have here the EPT indicators dictionary combined, and I can use this as a declaration. So when I'm going back here to my terminal declaration, I already prepared here some example properties. And now I have the possibility here to combine these properties with the classification from bSDD. So I have now here the column with the classification. So now I'm possible to choose here the different properties directly from the bSDD. This was live cycle stage. Actually, we're working here on several points. At first, we want here also to hand over the different values automatically, so I don't need to hand over this manually, or the possibility to directly import the bSDD properties here to an individual property set to make sure that I can hand over directly content from another dictionary. So actually, I can only refer or make a reference to another dictionary. The next step, we want to include directly the content. But this is a complicated story because we want to make sure that we don't duplicate definitions. We only want to add or refer. This is, for that reason, it's not a directly handover. It's only a reference to other content. It's a very important difference there. So when I'm making something like this, next step, I'm able to produce an IDS file from that. So We have already here the possibility, as I mentioned, to create reports, software templates, but I can here create also checking rules, but it's not only about checking rules, as I mentioned. Use here the IFC declaration I want to have, the discipline model I want to use. This was the terminal, and I create here a use case for EBT declarations. And there's the IDS file. I don't want to use Paint, but I think Notepad might be good. So here we have, this is the IDS syntax we produce here. Actually, there is not a link here inside to the bSDD content. So the bSDD classification we already declared is not carrying in the IDS file, but this is a next development step. This is only something we're waiting for. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. If you are interested, there is a place in IDS for references to external references such as bSDD. It's called URI, and you have it on both properties, classifications, materials. Thank you so much. Is there any question to Christoph or Hansueli? Is there any online? Okay, we'll have one question because I also have. Yeah.
Then I can skip it.
No, please.
Have you, within the application, have you also had the same, I know there's global warming potential, right? That's what we have in bSDD. And I also showed you that it's applied for several entities. So had you had a chance or challenges also mapping them and the real models, objects?
We did this, it was a little bit strange to remember, but since a year or so, last year, there was the virtual summit. And we did a presentation there, and this is available on YouTube. And there, I think Frederick and Hansueli
saw a sample how he mapped it to these entities, yes. Mm-hmm.
This was done in Aspin with the famous bSDD module.
Thank you so much. And I also would like to invite Anna-Rita, because maybe it was not in the schedule, but it's a recent case from Finland. And I'm really glad to see that we have so many countries, so many different implementations, because we heard, Netherlands, Germany, now we have Finland, and we also saw so many different tool implementations, like, Akka, Plannerly, we had BeamQ, we saw SketchUp, Revit, many. So now I would like to welcome Anna-Rita and say how you...
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to say that now you have seen all these opportunities for the bSDD. And I'm a project manager for our ministry project, Ravatri Pro, which is the BIM-based building permit process and requirements for the BIM for IFC and compliance checking rules and things like that. And we are doing also not only the architectural part, but MAP part and the structural part for design for this. And we are going to use the MAP part for this. And we have been working with the Artur and Leon for that. And we have been making tests. And if you are interested, I know that you must be, we are going to have the presentation for our project in general in my half, and our MAP specialist, Markus Järvenpää, is going to tell you more about this bSDD part for the MAP part of our project. So it's in the regulatory room session. I don't remember the room name, but you can find it. And it's next session that we are going to have. So please, you're welcome in there. And if you have any questions about our project, we will be happy to give you more information. And everything that we are providing is open and free for everyone. So it might be in Finnish, but you can manage. I trust that Google Translator will work in that also. Thank you on my behalf, and thank you, Artur, for this opportunity to market our project and bSDD.
Kiitos paljon.
Kiitos.
Is there any question? Yeah, we are soon finishing this session. Is there any question in general about bSDD or to any of the guests that we had? So I think we covered all of the questions in the previous session already. So there is one. Yeah. Hi, Jens.
I'm Jens Sjøgren, representing Norway. Do buildingSMART International plan to have any kind of services on data governance and on buildingSMART Data Dictionary?
Thank you. Really good question. And bSDD is a service that we want to give to people because we already see a lot of good examples how it can be useful. And there are a lot of organizations that are good at managing implementation and authoring of the classification systems, such as, we have different national PDT initiatives, and there are a lot of standards such as ISO, and we have also some industry-led initiatives such as MEP associations, or we have many. So I think what we have right now is a desired way that people can benefit from bSDD. We are not restricting really what can be uploaded. We have of course, some limitations, and we have a template that needs to be followed, but we welcome other organizations to basically host what they have. Sometimes they have much better tools to manage, maintain, author data dictionaries, but they can use bSDD to better integrate with the software. So we don't need to make additional plugins and so on. So that is my answer. Okay, one more.
Just adding to Jan's, product room is also working on making sure that we have reliable data when you come to the buildingSMART Data Dictionary. Next session will actually be about governance of data. So if anybody wants to bring input, they're welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if you have seen the previous session. We had also questions about this, about the governance. We had questions about validation of the data, and we already talked about this, so I don't want to repeat, but if you want to know more, we can also talk after this session, so I don't want to keep all of you here. So thank you very much, and see you around. Thank you.